Hey, thanks so much for listening. This is the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I have a guest on today that I met through one of my TikTok binging episodes that I do a few times a week. It's usually about 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, where I open up TikTok and I tell myself, I'm only going to do this for 15 minutes. And I never stop 15 minutes later. I'm always going until at least probably 45 minutes at the least. And then sometimes I'll start at 9 o'clock and I'll look at my watch or my iPhone and I'm like, shit, it's 11:30. I just wasted 2.5 hours on TikTok scrolling through videos. And I could have been reading a book, watching one of my television shows, doing a million other things. But I'll tell you the one thing that is good is that TikTok, I'm on there sometimes and I look for guests on there. And I have found guests on there before. And sometimes it gives me ideas. And so it's not totally always a waste of my time. But my guest today is from TikTok. And he is a guy that I was so interested in interviewing. And I'm so happy that he agreed to come on my show to talk, because he is a gay guy that's married who lived in Seattle, Washington, a very blue state, blue area, super gay friendly. And he wanted to get out of this country. Him and his husband finally documented their journey and finally made the move, and they moved to Spain. And he wasn't happy since 2016 when Donald Trump was elected the first time. I think his husband was from Colombia, so he didn't have his green card. There's a little time. I think that we talked a little bit about him being a little scared about what was going to happen and stuff. So they ended up going to Spain, and he would do TikToks where he would kind of count down. We have 20 days now, and this is what I did. I have 15 days. And I really wanted to interview him to talk with him about what was the breaking point where you thought, we got to go. Like, what was it for them? And how did you pick Spain? You could go anywhere, right? Or a lot of places, not anywhere. You could go a lot of places. Like Norway is offering gay people and LGBTQ plus people to come to their country. And I think Sweden is, and Canada, I think even is at this point. We have a lot of countries that are allowing LGBTQ plus Americans to come to their country. There's some criteria that you have to have. So me and my husband have had this conversation multiple times since Donald Trump won the election. And my husband's Jewish, and we think about it this way, and we've talked about it this way. Think about back in Nazi Germany before Hitler really took over. You have millions of Jewish people, millions of people that didn't fall under what Hitler thought was the person that he thought should be part of Germany or the world. And he wanted to have all these people that didn't fall under his criteria eliminated. So that could have been disabled people. It could have been gay people, lesbian people, definitely Jewish people, anybody that wasn't what his mindset was and didn't follow him. He wanted them gone. And so it didn't just happen one day where it's just one day everything's great and the next day everything's horrible. But in a way, it kind of did in some cases where you think it's not going to happen. He's never going to do this. He's not going to take people away. He's not going to put them in camps. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. And I don't want to be that person in today's world where we're like, shit, the borders are closed and we can't get out. And this sounds extreme, but if you think about what's happening in today's world, where we are looking for the Supreme Court to take on overturning same-sex marriage, and this week in the news, you can't have a pride-colored crosswalk in Florida anymore. The Pulse nightclub memorial where 49 people were killed They have erased this pride color crosswalk because Trump and DeSantis, the governor of Florida, doesn't want it. These are the things we're focusing on. You've taken multiple rights away from transgender people. It's like you can't say like, no, they're never going to close the borders. Of course they would fucking close the borders. If he wanted to, he doesn't follow anybody's rules. He can do whatever he wants. And if one day he's like, I want everybody to stay here and I'm going to pick who's going to live how, he could do it at this point. But Kyle and his husband, I love their story. I love the fact that they decided to go through and document their entire process and doing a countdown. And we get a little bit more into Kyle's story, where he really talks about how they picked Spain and when the right time was to move. And if you're an LGBTQ plus person and you haven't thought about at what point do I think about leaving this country, I'm asking you as a listener to the show to do that for yourself. Just have a plan. You don't even have to write it down. Do a Google search. Find out where you could go, what you could do, what it takes, what type of visa you need, what type of job you need, what's the criteria, which countries will accept you. Because there could be a day, and it could be in the near future, it could be a year from now, it could be a few years from now, but there is a possibility more than ever that the LGBTQ plus people will need to leave this country because our rights will be taken away. And it's not just taking away same-sex marriage, but it could get a lot worse. They could take away more rights for us. And again, this is the same type of things. If you think about what happened in Nazi Germany, where they said, no, this won't happen, and things just kept happening. And more things kept happening and being added to the list that Hitler did. These horrific things that Hitler did. And I'm not saying we're Nazi Germany, but I'm saying that we are going down a path that is not good. So enjoy the episode with Kyle. I think Kyle and his husband are brave. They are an inspiration to me, and I hope they're an inspiration to you. And I love the fact that they just decided, we're doing this and we're going to go and we're going to start over. We're going to do this together and this is how we're going to do it. And they're in temporary housing looking for an apartment. They're figuring it all out as they go along, but they're doing it together. So listen to the episode, leave a comment, leave me a comment and tell me that you have a plan. You don't have to tell me what the plan is, but just leave a comment on this podcast or send me a DM on Instagram and say, I have a plan and I want you to know that I have a plan. Thanks for listening and enjoy. Thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have Kyle on my show. And Kyle, I discovered on TikTok as I've been scrolling through for hours at a time. And Kyle's story interested me so much because him and his partner decided to pick up from Seattle and move to Spain. And I am here to ask them all the questions, why they did it, which I think I know why. And we're going to go through that. So thanks so much for joining the show, Kyle.
Totally. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So in November 2016, according to your TikTok, you decided, I think I want to go somewhere else. Is that kind of when you thought of it?
Yeah, for sure. I was actually born and raised in Florida and had moved to Seattle in 2016. So I had only been there for a few months and loved it. But after the election went the way that it did in November 2016 was the first time that I was like, I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And so were you with your partner Juan at the time?
Yes. Yeah, we've been together since 2011.
Wow. How did you guys meet?
We went to college together. We both went to the University of Florida.
Cool. So where did you grow up in Florida? I grew up in Miami. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, nice. I'm from a really small town, about 30 minutes west of Daytona Beach. Yeah. So central Florida.
Okay. And then you went to Florida State or UF?
University of Florida.
University of Florida. Cool.
Yes, go Gators.
Yeah. I used to go to Gator Ground College because I went to FIU and my friend went to UF. And so I would go up there and do that whole thing. So it was fun.
That's awesome.
So what was kind of, I get it because I'm a gay man. I've been in a relationship for 27 years, almost 27 years with my husband, and we definitely have a plan that if shit keeps going the way it's going, we're like, it's going to be time to go. And now that if you want to call her a woman Kim Davis has now come out and said she wants to overturn same-sex marriage. And I try not to get political in the show, but it's very hard not to in today's world. But now that
Totally.
she has come out and then she's taken this to the Supreme Court or trying to get the Supreme Court to take the case, we have even we've talked even more seriously about the plan, about
Yeah.
when is the time to leave, because we want to buy a house, and we're actually not buying a house until after the midterm elections next November to see what happens. So
Story.
so what was the kind of the turning point where you and Juan are like, it's time to go?
Well, the funny thing is, as I mentioned, we had just moved to the Northwest like 3 months prior to the November 2016 elections. And I think, like most people, we thought there was just absolutely no contest, and the devastation, the shock, the fury that I felt was just, as I'm sure a lot of people felt, was just like unlike anything I'd ever felt before.
Yeah.
And truly just in the rage of the moment, told my husband that I wanted to leave the country. I didn't have a plan where, I hadn't thought of it prior, and just knew that I really wanted to not be, something about staying in the United States to me, even like as a super liberal person who obviously would have never considered voting for him, even like my deepest sense of protest was to leave. Like that's just how I felt. It just felt like even existing on land that he held the highest office and was something I just didn't want to be a part of it. So 2016 November was the first time. My husband actually was the one at the time. He was still going through his own immigration journey in the United States. He was born in Colombia, and so he was not a citizen as of November 2016. And so ironically, he was the one of the two of us that was like, no, we're going to stay. We're going to fight for our country. That's what's right. That's the American way. And that was quite humbling because me being the native born American was the one that wanted to leave. So in that moment, we were not united in that decision. And rightfully, like truthfully, we had just moved to the Northwest. That was expensive to do. And we had left Florida because I was from Volusia County, if anybody knows where that is.
I know where that is, yeah.
Deep red, deep red Florida. And so it was never my plan to stay in Florida. The Northwest was definitely a beautiful blue bubble. And so we had just gotten there. I was like, okay, we'll ride this out. It's 4 years. At least I'm in the Northwest now. And we'll see how 2020 goes. Obviously that went better.
Yeah.
But then fast forward to 2024. And I was actually on a plane coming home from a vacation as the polls were closing, and got Wi-Fi on the plane because I just, as I'm sure many did, had so much anxiety about what was happening because I no longer believed it was going to be, a sweep, because 2016 made me incredibly skeptical, and look where we are. I will never forget being on that plane and just feeling my heart racing as the polls were closing, as I was returning from a vacation.
But were you shocked that he won and she didn't, though? Because I was.
No. After 2016, I was so skeptical. Like I just truly didn't, like, whether it was rigged, whether there was things that were done that should have been done. Really, it did not matter to me. I just did not trust anymore that things were going to go the right way. And by the time we got home, by the time we got into our apartment that night, I was beside myself yet again, feeling all the same feelings I was feeling in 2016. And the first thing I said to my husband was, I asked you this once in 2016. I'm going to ask you again. Are you ready to leave? And this time he said yes. And that night we began planning what that looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I mean, but I was sitting there watching the results that night, and I guess maybe because my algorithm was for Kamala, and I was seeing all this positive stuff on social media and the news, and And I thought, she's got it. And my aunt, who is a huge liberal Democrat, we both felt the same. Like, she's going to get this. She's going to get this. And then
Totally.
I was so shocked. Like, I don't think I've ever been more shocked about something than that, than him winning. So, and now I look back, I'm
The
like, where
second
was
time.
I? Yeah, second time. The first time, I remember exactly where I was. I was in LA visiting a friend's house, and we all went over to watch the election party. And all the people that were there were huge liberal Democrats. And we were all shocked then. But I think the second time, I'm just like, there's no way this country is going to be this stupid and we reelect him again. But here we are. So
Exactly. And I just think that I lost so much hope and trust. Like, by 2016, I was signed off, right? Like, I was ready to leave.
Yeah.
I think that I had just like kept that trauma with me the entire time. We got a little bit of a break in 2020, but not really, because we're also going through a pandemic. It's like some level of panic about what was happening in the world never stopped. And when the election cycle started again, and especially once he became the primary candidate, no, I held my breath the entire time. I did not trust the United States to get it right.
Yeah. So tell me now, how did you pick Spain, first of all? Like, you could have picked, so I mean, I've looked at Lisbon, I've looked at Norway, I'm looking at Canada if we have to go, because Canada, I live in Boston, so, and I'm in this little blue bubble myself in Boston. But what made you pick Spain?
Well, we started with a really zoomed out look at the types of countries that were going to make things better for us. So, we looked at countries where gay marriage was not only legal, but where the country actually embraced the queer community. We looked at all kinds of different angles. We looked at like what type of climate emergencies these places might go through in our lifetime. We looked at what the weather was like and what the extremes were like during the winter and during the summer. We looked at any potential language barriers. We looked at how difficult it might be to get a visa there. And our top two ended up being Spain and New Zealand. And besides like the healthcare, the food, the lifestyle, the things that really pulled Spain into first place for us was that it had a visa that we could apply for that worked out, which was the digital nomad visa. And my husband is a Colombian citizen, and Spain recognizes Colombia as one of the countries that their citizens can get citizenship here in Spain in 2 years instead of 10. So if I had moved here on my own, for example, the digital nomad visa is through me, but I would have had to be here for 10 years before I could have gotten citizenship. Whereas my husband with his Colombian status can apply for citizenship here in 2 years, which just made such a quick barrier to entry. The visa that I applied for, the digital nomad visa, there's two ways to apply for it. You can apply for it from within your home country and be approved for 1 year, or you can apply from within Spain and be approved for 3, which basically means that once my visa is approved, the visa won't even run out and my husband will already be an active citizen here. So it was just a really sticky barrier.
And then you become a citizen as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you have to give up your U.S. citizenship once you become a citizen of Spain, or do you have dual citizenship?
So from what I understand, you are technically supposed to verbally renounce your United States citizenship when you get your Spanish citizenship. However, the United States does not recognize that verbal renouncement. So yes, but not. So technically yes, but not really.
Okay, cool. And why did you not pick New Zealand? I feel like New Zealand would be kind of awesome.
The biggest part for us with New Zealand was that it felt like a easier barrier to entry with the digital nomad visa, and especially the citizenship process. Because as much as it felt like we were making a snap decision because we were operating off of emotion and fear, we wanted to make sure that this was something that was going to be long-term sustainable. Yeah. And when we found out that my husband could apply for citizenship in 2 years, that was a huge draw for us sense. Because that meant that like we could easily see really far into the future a plan of stability and longevity being here.
And why did you pick Barcelona?
So my husband and I both knew we wanted to be by the water. I had grown up, 30 minutes from Daytona Beach. We had water near us in the Northwest. And we like the big city vibe. We've kind of been in big cities most of our lives. Him being in Orlando, me being near Daytona. Gainesville is more of a college town, but after that, we spent a year in Tampa. We lived in Ybor. We then lived in Portland, Oregon for a little while before settling in Capitol Hill in Seattle. So we knew that by being in a bigger city, there was going to be a lot of advantages. It was certainly going to be super queer friendly. There would be an easier integration process for me with Spanish. I am at like intermittent, maybe like A2, B1 Spanish. I definitely am getting by here just fine, but we knew that there would be a nice barrier to entry for me getting more integrated into the language being here. We considered Madrid, but it didn't quite feel right for the things we were looking for. And it's also like right in the middle of the country. The more we looked into the culture and the people and the lifestyle, the food, it all made sense.
Yeah. Awesome. And were you ever in Barcelona before moving there, or did you just kind of pick?
Yeah, no, we definitely wanted to make sure we visited first. So we actually came here February of this year. Definitely a different vibe. It was a lot colder, but we got to see as much as we could. And we tried to balance we were here for 10 days, and we tried to balance our time between doing touristy stuff, but also like trying to look at the neighborhoods and the lifestyle and actually see what it would feel like to live there. And we had done that several times before, when we moved from Florida to Portland, and then again from Portland to Seattle. We did the same thing. It started with an idea to move there, and then visited once to make sure it would fit our lifestyle and what we were looking for, and then made the jump.
Awesome. Cool. And what does your family think about you and your friends like picking up and leaving? Like, what's been the reaction?
Yeah. Well, between our two families, I'll start with his. They were definitely very like scared at first. I think his parents in particular had a very outdated perspective of what Spain was like, like a 1970s, 1980s perspective of what this country was like. And they were very scared. They felt like we were giving up everything we had built. They felt like we were making a huge mistake. They felt like we were making an irrational snap decision. But he actually has a cousin that has lived here for the past 20 years. And so his parents called her in a panic, and she completely set them straight, and let them know, like, you are so off about like what it is like to live in Barcelona. Yeah. And it was like a night and day difference. Since then, they have been elated about us being here. They call him all the time to get updates. They're so excited to visit. They're so happy that we're happy. They went from completely in fear and in shock and unsupportive to incredibly supportive. My mom is used to me running. My mom is used to me traveling a lot, and I think she often, when I make these really big moves, she refers to the first time she had to deal with this with me, which was in college. My senior year of college, I got a scholarship I studied dance at the University of Florida. I got a scholarship to go to a 6-week dance intensive in Dakar, Senegal, in West Africa. And she was horrified. She was so scared, of course, like not knowing anything about Senegal or where I was going. And I was gonna be there for 6 weeks. I had never left the country before, let alone the continent. And
wow, that's a big trip for the first time.
It was literally like I had been to like New York and DC, and then I was going to Senegal, and she was beside herself. So
yeah.
And then after I finished college, I chose to move to the Northwest, which like that was hard for both of us, because that was far for the time.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, like this move, in the way that she describes it, feels a lot like when I went to Senegal. Like there was a lot of fear, but this one being a lot more permanent. I think she's gotten better we haven't even been here a month, but I think she's gotten better with time. But my mom is really hung up on, I only talk to my mom. My mom is really hung up on the distance. Like we were 3 time zones apart with her being in Florida and me being in Seattle. And now we're 6. And I try to explain to her, we Snapchat every day. So she sees my face and I see hers every single day. We text all the time. And I'm still a flight away. You were always going to have to take a flight to see me. And so I'm filling her head with all these positives. And I think that she's obviously come to terms with it because I'm here. But I do think that she is still having a harder time with it than my husband's parents, just because I am so far away. But with more of what she sees going on in the world, my mom is like incredibly liberal. I don't know how she survives living in Central Florida in Volusia County the way she does. But like my mom, we wouldn't talk if she wasn't. Like that's a hard no for me. So she's incredibly liberal. She totally understands. She's disgusted by what's going on. And I think the more that she sees happening, like the Kim Davis fiasco going on right now, it's just further confirmation as to why we did what we did. So she understands and she supports, but I think her heart bleeds a little.
Yeah. And if you really think about it, because whenever I go from Boston to Seattle, which I had to do many times because my company that I worked at previously was there, it's a long flight.
Yeah.
It's almost like going to Europe.
Yeah.
As far as it is. So, I mean, you could tell her that as well. Like it's especially going from Florida to Spain. I mean, it's like, how many hours is it? 6.5?
Probably. When I traveled there, when I traveled across, I went from Chicago to Barcelona, and it was like 8. So yeah, I'd say 6.5 is about right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like that's how long it takes to get from
That's
the
what
East
I tried
Coast
to
the West Coast.
explain. Like you're just flying the other way.
Exactly. Will she come and visit you?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's always my mom, my sister, and her boyfriend. They travel as a trio. They visited Seattle many times. They loved it. And that was another benefit I tried to explain to her. Like, Mom, you never would have seen Portland if I didn't move there. You never would have seen Seattle if I didn't move there. And now you get to see Spain. And if you come here long enough, we will country hop. And like that does not compute to people in America, right? Because that's the same as like state hopping for us. But like the flights are cheaper and everything's closer. And I can't wait to show her all of this.
Yeah. And so how has it been? So you've been there a month. How has it impacted your relationship, good and bad?
With my husband?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are still in a very transient state. We got here on August 6th. Today's August 20. I turned my phone off. August 23rd. 26th. Okay. See.
So you've been here 20 days.
So I've been here 20 days. You know what? It's been difficult. I will, like, for sure it's been difficult. Like there is such a lack of routine right now. There is, like, we're not in our permanent place yet. Like this is a temporary housing we're in that we have until September 6th. We booked it for 1 month while we look for our own place. Honestly, I haven't talked about this much on, I don't think I've talked about it at all on TikTok, but one thing that I am realizing just in this week really that has been really difficult for me is that I am neurodivergent. I was on medication managing my symptoms and the things that I struggle with in the States. And I made the decision, instead of stocking up on my medicine, to wean off of it before I came here. And I regret that. I have realized in the past week or so, like, that all of the things that I was struggling with before I began medication management, that they have returned. And they're very difficult when you are completely out of routine. And I can get feisty. So what I will say is that after all these years together, my husband and I know how to have a conversation. We know how to, like, go through difficult moments and still go to bed and kiss each other goodnight. Like, that is one thing that we have been successful at our entire relationship, is not carrying things into the next day. But I would absolutely be lying to say that, like, this has all been smooth and easy. Like, we definitely have difficult moments. I can get frustrated pretty easily. And there's a lot about Spain that is obviously very different from the States. And in particular, like, he and I definitely have a sense of urgency in trying to find our next home. We only have this one until the 6th. And our urgency is no one else's urgency here. And that is just like a constant amount of gentle pressure on the back of my neck that makes it difficult to relax.
Yeah, me and my husband moved from New York City to Basel, Switzerland. So we went from 8.5 million people to a small town, which it's not even that small, but it's 350,000 people.
It's a big
And the
change.
way of life was so different where everything closed at 6, everything is closed on Sundays, and nobody's in a rush to do anything. And I had a real problem with, and there's all these weird rules in Switzerland also that I just, as an American, just couldn't do. And I'll tell you that I had the same thing with medication because I had a sleep medication that I was taking. I don't even remember what it was, Lunesta or something like that I was taking, and they did not have that in Switzerland. So I had to find a new one once I went there because I've had a horrible time sleeping my entire life, and I could not find anything.
Gosh.
And also melatonin, which is like a vitamin in the United States, is not sold in Europe because it's considered prescription, I guess.
Oh.
And so whenever I would, and also, this sounds crazy. My deodorant that I liked, which was Degree or whatever at the time, they didn't have that in Switzerland either because they have like 2 deodorants in the supermarket or wherever you buy deodorant at in Switzerland. And so whenever I'd go back to the United States, I would like stock up on so many things. Like I'd bring a suitcase just to bring all my favorite shit back with me. So you may have to do that as well when you go back to visit. Will you go back though?
I will go back. And I have a reason to actually go back annually. I'll talk about that in a second. But I've heard this about like traveling back with things that you need, or like if you have people visiting, having them stock up on things for you. I've heard deodorant in particular, to stock up on that. Pain medicines like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, like stock up on that because you can't get that here. I'm not missing any of that stuff.
Also food.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think I've been here long enough to miss too intimately like any of those things. Like we did bring a good stock of acetaminophen, ibuprofen. I did bring a good sized bottle of the sleep aid that I take, which is prescription, and I haven't like researched if it's actually here yet or not. But yes, I will go back. I wish that I had more reason to go all the way back to Seattle because I coached a high school competitive dance team there, and I miss that so much. But besides them, I don't have any family there, just a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I'll be going back to Seattle, especially because when I go back to the States, my family will definitely expect me to be in Florida. However, I am working on a coaching opportunity here in Barcelona, which was a huge pull for me to move here as well, because like that is such a deep part of what brings me joy and passion is teaching and coaching dance. And there is an organization here that competes globally for an organization called the International Cheer Union, ICU, and ICU has a dance department. Like they do competitive dance as well. And when we came here in February, I found and met the person running the cheer side, and she is actually also American and has been looking for someone to help her start the dance side. So we connected, and we're currently working on recruiting athletes here in Barcelona for the dance program that I'll be starting so that we can compete globally for ICU. And those competitions are every April in Orlando, Florida. So it's kind of perfect. Awesome. I'll get a regular visit in April back to Orlando, and that's close enough for my family.
Yeah. Amazing. What has something that you kind of learned about each other, you and your partners, since you've moved there that you maybe didn't know before? And it's only been 20 days, but it's a huge life change. Totally.
What is something that we've learned about each other? I think that like one thing that I've learned is that I like in general that communication is always key. And I tend to not say things out loud that might need to be said out loud, even if I think that it's obvious, because when you've been together this long, you probably know this very well. Like you can't hide anything, and most things don't have to be said. It can be read all over your face, but saying it out loud and naming it really helps. It really helps when things are getting tense. So that's one thing that I've learned for sure. I've also learned, it's been interesting to learn kind of like what our priorities are in this new life that we're building in this new world. Like my husband has all of these passions that he wants to pursue that I had heard nothing about prior to here. And it's,
oh, interesting.
Like one thing that I think is really cool is because he does not need to learn the Spanish language, he is immersing himself in the Catalan language, which is the native language of Catalonia, which is what this area is. And it's been really cool to watch him go through that language journey, because it's always been me trying to learn Spanish and him being native in both languages. And so it's interesting to kind of be back on a more level playing field, watching him navigate those challenges. He's an artist at heart, like I am, but he's a scientist by trade. When he went to UF, he was in the, he got a degree in biology. He got his master's in medical science. When he was in Seattle, he was working for an oculoplastic surgeon. But coming here, he doesn't want to be a part of any of that. He wants to get back into art. So like just watching him be creative again has brought me a lot of joy, and has shown me like what is more important to him at his core, and him having time to do those things has been really cool. He wants to get into archery classes. Like I didn't know he was interested in archery, but he is. He wants to. And he wants to take Catalan classes. He wants to open an art studio here and get back into his 2D art, watercolor, painting, drawing. He's working on a science fiction novel, and even just reading some of his passages, like he is such a amazing writer. And it's just so many things that he didn't get to do when he was working. He was working like the 4 day on, 3 day off type of shifts, where it was like 10 hours a day. And so those days were just like he was completely shot by the time he got home. And then most of the weekend was him recovering and or mentally preparing for the next week to come. So it's just been really cool to learn about his artistic side, because he didn't give himself the permission, nor do I think he really had the time to do that in the States.
And what about friends there? Have you made any friends there yet?
I've actually made a lot of friends, and most of them have been through TikTok, which is really, really cool. I want to say I've had like 3 different meetings with different people, and one of the meetings was with multiple. So I would say like all total, I've probably met like 5 or 6 people off of TikTok alone just from being here. But then when I came here in February, I posted online, I think it was on maybe like a Facebook group, looking for people who lived here that might be interested in grabbing a drink or like just talking to us about the town, because we were going to be moving here. And I had a lot of people reach out from that post, but in particular, we met a guy who lives just north of here in a smaller town called Barcelona, but he's in Barcelona like pretty much every day. And he's not native to Spain. He's also an immigrant, but not from the United States. And it's been cool to have friends that I'm meeting from the internet that are immigrants here as well. I would say the 6 that I referenced that I've met since being here, they're all American, but then it's also cool to have him from the Czech Republic as an immigrant that lives here, and getting to know him as well. My husband's got his cousin here, so we had lunch with her a few weeks ago, and that was the first time they'd seen each other in over 20 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Which was so cool. It was so cool. Yeah. And then I have a friend here that I haven't seen yet. We just haven't like found time. But we were in the same dance program at the University of Florida, and she lives here. My husband also, his roommate from college lives here. And we've met up with him like 3 or 4 times now, and he's lived here for like 5 years. So just he's like a fountain of knowledge about all things surviving in Barcelona. It's been cool.
Yeah, when we lived in Switzerland, there's a bunch. So Basel is like, it's a pharmaceutical kind of hub for people to go. I was working for a pharmaceutical company, and they relocated me there. And there's all these expat groups that you can join online to meet people. And they have all these things. So, if you ever like, I need, that, it sounds like you're already meeting a ton of people, but if you ever need to meet new people, those expat groups are actually pretty amazing to like meet people.
I am a part
Not
of
just
those.
from the US, but from all over.
Yeah. I think that actually might be the group that I posted on in February when I came here and met up with that now friend of mine from Czech Republic. But reflecting on the last 20 days, I have met a lot of people. It's exactly what I suspected, which is that it's easier to find more Spanish immigrants than it is to befriend and find Spanish locals, which is okay. I do hope to integrate more into the local community over time, but I have to remind myself, well, I've been here for 20 days.
Yeah, exactly. What's your kind of favorite thing that you've done since you've been there, that you didn't even like think that you would do? So, I mean, it sounds like your husband like wanted to take archery and do all this stuff is a big shock. But is there anything that you guys have done, or have you even thought about? I mean, like you said, you can go to another country on a short, cheap EasyJet flight. And have you thought about like once we get settled, we're going to go to this country because it's only going to take an hour and a half to fly there, and it's only going to cost $69.
Totally. First of all, the prices of flights going anywhere within Europe are kind of mind blowing when all you're used to is flying from Seattle to Florida. Like
Yeah,
those are upwards and over $1,000 almost every time, depending on where you're going. And to have ticket prices for flights that are 2 digits just don't compute.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
It's crazy. We have thought a lot about what we like, other places we want to go, and the list is kind of endless because Spain is actually the only country in Europe either of us have been to. So that trip I made to Senegal in college was the only time I had left the country, besides like a 24-hour stint in Vancouver when we lived in Seattle. And then February was our first time coming to Europe at all. So the entire European Union is our oyster.
you have to go to London though. And London is amazing.
Okay.
Paris is amazing. Also, you have to go to Paris. People aren't as friendly in Paris, but it's just like amazing to go. One of my favorite countries that I ever went to was Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay.
People there are so nice,
That's
and their
awesome.
English is better than our English in the United States,
It's
and
a low
they were
bar.
just so friendly. Yeah, and I'm just trying to think what other country I really loved. Switzerland's nice. I didn't love living in Switzerland, but I like Switzerland as a country.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, you got the whole world like
Truly.
to like explore at this point. Like that's amazing.
Truly. His cousin really went on about Rome. So I've heard a lot of people talk about Italy.
I've only been to Milan, but Rome is on my list to go. But do not go in the summer, is what I've been
Oh
told.
yeah.
Because
Death.
okay, so let me ask you that question. There's no air conditioning really in Europe, hardly anywhere, or at least when I lived in Switzerland, there was none. And whenever I go to London, it's like blowing out like kind of like 78-degree air out of the air conditioner, so it's not
Nothing
real air
satisfying.
conditioning. Yeah. So tell me what it's like there, kind of adjusting to like the lack of air conditioning in Spain.
Yeah. So there's really, I mean, it really depends on like the stores and the restaurants you go into. A lot of the big stores seem to have like some kind of AC. They're definitely not blowing it super cold. I think that being born and raised in Florida helped prepare me for this in a way. I definitely was not conditioned because I've never enjoyed the heat. Like that was a big move. That was a big part of
Same.
me leaving Florida was like, I've never enjoyed the heat. I don't break a sweat very easily. So if and when I'm sweating, I'm not having a good time. When we first got here, we were actually in a heat wave. So it was getting like up into like, I want to say like the low 90s, mid 90s, but the humidity is a lot less than what I'm used to when it's that hot. It really doesn't get that hot in Seattle very rarely. Like if we break 90, it's making the news and it's a very dry heat. Whereas Florida is just like a steam room that is malfunctioning. Like it's death.
Yeah.
It's absolute death. The apartment that we're staying in has AC. The metros have AC, like on the trains. They don't like not when you're standing there waiting. So like the temperature difference between like standing and waiting for a metro to arrive and getting on a metro is like it's very much like walking out of a highly air conditioned house in Florida and stepping out into your front yard. I will say, I think I was mentally prepared to put it at the level of Florida so that I would be underwhelmed. And so far that has been the experience for the most part. But definitely like today, we had to run to the bank. I am cat sitting for someone. So then we ran and took care of her cats, an American that lives here as an immigrant now. Then we had to go to the grocery store, and then I had to run to the pet store for my cat. And we did all of that back to back. And by the time I got home, I was like, I feel disgusting. I need a shower, and I'm angry. Yeah. So like it definitely builds if you're out too long at those peak hours.
Yeah. So we brought 2 cats as well. And how is your cat adjusted?
He's adjusted wonderfully. He's out of reach, but he is curled up napping right now. And he just turned 13 this month, along with me, who turned 33. We share birth month. And I was super nervous. Like, I am incredibly attached to my cat. Like, he is my main artery. And he had never flown before, but because he's been with me for 13 years, he did travel from Florida to Portland with me and from Portland to Seattle. So he'd done very long drives, but never a flight. We sedated him with gabapentin. He did a lot better than all of my biggest worries about like him, like, you know, peeing in his carrier or like having a panic attack none of that stuff happened. Yeah. I was also worried about not being able to transition his food because, as I'm sure you know, when you change their food, you're supposed to do like small portions at a time and slowly integrate. Well, we really couldn't do that because I couldn't really carry that stuff. I thought I couldn't carry it here from the States because it's technically meat and you can't do that. He has actually, like, one thing I will say about him is that we used to give him Tiki Cat back in the States, which, like, from my vet's perspective was like some of the higher quality, like, wet food you could give a cat. And he was never one to like actually clean his plate to where it looked like there was nothing on there. He has cleaned his plate to the surface every single meal since getting here. It's like he loves this food better there, just like we love this food better.
Yeah.
So it's been very smooth. I'm so thankful because he, like, moving him here at his age and just in general, like, uprooting his life to this degree, changing his food on the drop of a dime, changing his time zone by 9 hours and his environment. I was very worried, but truly it has been not just smooth, but he seems to be happier. Like, he's got access to the warmth. He loves to be in the sun, and like, he doesn't get a lot of that in Seattle. So, you know, he loves being out on the balcony when it's warm out, which is always. He is loving the food change. He'll have one more change when we move from this apartment to our permanent place. But, you know, ever since we made the decision to make this move, it always involved him. And if for any reason there would have been a barrier to him coming here, that would have been a deal breaker for us. Like, that is how committed to this cat I am. And we've always said that, like, moving him here is him getting to retire in the Mediterranean, which is just amazing.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you is just how has it been kind of meeting new LGBTQ plus friends?
It's been good. The friend that I met here in February from Czech Republic is gay. He's been really great because he's been able to show us what, like, the nightlife is like here. He took us to as many bars as he could when we were here in February, and that was really, really nice. We saw a drag show here in February with it was hosted by Petita, which is one of the winners of Drag Race Spain, which is really, really cool to see her live. We haven't done as much like going out to the gay bars here like this trip yet, at least in the last 20 days. Some of the Spanish immigrant friends that we have that are from the States are also LGBTQ. But I would say that, like, a bulk of the people we've met so far are actually not within the queer community. So we still have a lot of exploring to do.
Yeah. I mean, Spain is so LGBTQ plus friendly. So I'm sure there's going to be a point where you're going to be like, all right, well, which friend are we hanging out with this week? Because you're going to have to make a decision because you're going to have so many friends, I have a feeling.
It kind of already feels like that with the people that we've met, which has been really, really incredible. I will say, like, even though we have, like, not frequented the bars as much, that's just never, like, I've never been one to, like, spend a weekend at a bar. Like, that's usually like a rare outing for me, which might change while I'm here. We'll see.
Yeah.
But while I'm not meeting as many people within the community right now, I am seeing them. One thing I will say, like, even though Seattle is so queer friendly, I see so much more PDA here, like so much more queer PDA and so much just like queer people like living their lives and looking just truly and authentically safe and feeling safe, you know, than anything I've ever seen in any part of any blue area of the States. That has been absolutely noteworthy and really cool to see.
Yeah, that's amazing. One tip I'll give you, if you have like any shows that are in America, like TV shows that you really miss, you can get on a VPN and like get them that way. I've like figured that out.
Totally.
Because kind of Bravo shows, which I'm sad to admit, but I do. And so like some of the Real Housewives and stuff, I wasn't getting it in
Yeah.
Basel. And so I had to like go into this VPN and say I was in, the United States. So just a little tip.
Yeah. My husband is like our tech guru of the house, and he has us on ExpressVPN, which we've been using to take advantage of those things for sure.
Yeah, and just the food is so much better. Like the vegetables and stuff. Like in Europe, they taste like vegetables. I forgot what real vegetables taste like until you go to Europe.
It's crazy, and like. So one thing, my husband and I promised each other that we would try like just about anything, especially like dietary. I don't usually eat pork. I don't eat pork or beef, but like I've promised him that like if he orders something that has one of those meats in it, that I would try it just to see how I like it.
Yeah.
He's been a real hater of tomatoes and olives his whole life, but he's promised to try them here. And he has been like not just enjoying those two foods, but like actively seeking them out himself and eating them as well, and being like, I've never had a tomato like this. Like if this is what they always tasted like, I don't think I would have hated them as much. And same thing for olives. It's been, it's like eating like vegetables and fruits in high definition. I don't know how else to explain it. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, there's just like a taste. You're just like, oh, this is what it's supposed to taste like. Because I feel like when I was growing up, that's what it tasted like, but everything is just so changed to where it's like all fake now. So.
It's like 10% of the flavor of something. That we were totally spoiled when we went back from February of like going back into American foods, especially the produce and the coffee.
Yeah. Well, I am so happy that you came on my show and told your story, because I'm rooting for you guys. I'm watching you. If anybody else wants to follow along with Kyle's journey, which you definitely should, because you do a video a couple times a day most of the time.
Yeah,
right?
I do. I try to do a video a couple times a day at least.
And it's just like, I love it when you kind of just started like November 16th, 2016. And that, that's when you decided. And I just love your whole journey. We're 15 days, we're 14 days away. And so keep it up, because I think you have a lot of people that are going to really want to kind of see how you progress. And the other people that are thinking about possibly doing this, you're an inspiration to them. So keep that in mind, because
Thank you.
It's a brave thing to do, to pick up and move to another country. And it's sad that you had to do that because of where we are in the state of this country. But Kyle's TikTok is Kyle in Motion, Kyle.nin.motion on TikTok. Are you on Instagram as well? I think I follow you on Instagram too, right?
Yes, I recently was like hacked and have been having a hard time getting back in there, which is why it's been really quiet. But I am Kyle.in.motion on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube.
Cool. So I will put all his links in the description of this podcast or video, but follow along with him and send him a DM. And if you're going to Spain, send him a DM and ask him what he needs so you can bring it over for him. Because
thank you.
Some good deodorant or something. Whatever.
Totally.
Well, thanks so much for being on, Kyle. Thanks everybody for listening, and be sure to subscribe and leave a message on what you think about this episode. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.